Hello everyone, good morning. Very happy to see a fresh new batch of students coming into the civil service circle and going to start your preparation in a brand new format. Welcome to iLearn IAS. I'm very glad that you have ended up here because a couple of years ago I started my journey at iLearn IAS. I remember it was in June 2018. I was fresh out of college. I graduated in economics from Stella Maris College, Chennai. And I came to Trivandrum to look for institutes where I can join for civil service preparation. And then I checked out a few institutes here and I found out that, and I met, most importantly, I spoke with some of the faculty here. And at that time, I was convinced that, iLearn is the place where I have to go, and then I had faith in them somehow or the other. And needless to say, that faith grew over the time I spent here, the classes I attended with my mentors, and all the help and support that I received from iLearn IAS has helped me secure an All India rank of 185 in my very first attempt. So that is something that I personally feel very happy about, and so I hope most of you, all of you here, come out successful. If you follow iLearn IAS and devise your own personal strategy to crack this exam. So today, what I would like to do in this session is I'll speak for a few minutes about my personal experience with UPSC, with this exam, what were the methods I followed, how exactly was my studying schedule, what did I do for revision, and how exactly I used iLearn IAS as a very good platform so that I can extract maximum utility out of an institute. So I'll teach you how to do that, and towards the end of the session we'll have a small Q&A where you can feel free to ask me questions about just about anything, and we'll try to answer that and make it a very interactive session. All right, so to start off with, I'll tell you what are the courses that I did from iLearn IAS. I had joined here in June 2018 in their PCM batch, which is the Prelims-Cum-Mains Batch. You are a PCM batch for the month of April 2021. I joined in 2018, and my classes went on till beginning of 2019, and in June 2019 I took my prelims examination, and PCM of course was the main batch that I joined. I had also attended Kana classes, which is the current affairs and news analysis classes, which gave me a very comprehensive coverage about what are the happenings in our society, what are the contemporary issues that I should be aware of, both from a prelims and a mains point of view. So current affairs was covered, and for my optional classes, my optional was economics, and I did not take any coaching as such. Instead, I took a test series from an institute based out of Delhi. So iLearn has not doesn't have anything to do with my optional. Needless to say, they were very supportive and in giving me all the moral support and encouragement, and helped me get the resources required for my optional. All right. So so one of the first things that I did after joining iLearn was to try to devise a strategy. So like most of you may have already done, one of the first things I did was to get maximum information that I possibly can about this exam, about toppers who have cleared it, about my optional subject, about each and every subject which is included in the civil service examination. So one of our most important guiding light in this scenario is our syllabus. All right, so one of the first things I did was to understand and read our syllabus very thoroughly. So one of my friends would say that you should, ideally write down the syllabus 4 to 5 times and, in a way make it by heart. You should know it like the back of your hand, the syllabus. So there are so many benefits to this too, and this is something the faculty at iLearn also emphasized on a lot. Second one is to start off with the basics such as NCERT and learning how to read the newspaper and all of that. And I'm sure that these will be the first things you as a classroom would be learning to do at iLearn in the first place. In the first few days, you'll be learning how to read the newspaper, how to approach the syllabus, and how to choose an optional. All these questions will be dealt with very comprehensively by iLearn. Alright, so next I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my personal study technique and my revision schedule, which brought a lot of change in myself from what I was before, and it is something I very strongly believe made me stand apart when compared to my competition, and I truly believe that that helped me gain that edge. So like most college students, like most of you who are here, I was a very normal, happy-go-lucky person in college. I mean, I still am, but what I meant was when it comes to examination or academics, what I did was just to go with the flow, and usually I would spend just the day before the exam trying to cram the entire subject in one go, often going into exam halls without having slept the entire night. So that was my usual strategy when it came to writing an examination. And what, with no surprise, I would have forgotten what I had studied within, a couple of days. So when I joined iLearn and when my classes had slowly started, I realized that, that method cannot continue. Like if I continue to do what I had been doing in my college years, which is basically cramming on the previous day of the exam, I am definitely not going to pass this this huge, civil service examination. Because by that time, I was convinced of what the syllabus was. I was convinced of how comprehensive, how tough, and how much of a disciplined life one has to lead in order to clear this. So one of the first things I did at after having this realization was to understand what is the best way of studying a subject. Like what is the best method so that my memorization techniques are at its peak. Like my memory is, top notch, so that I don't forget things what I learned today, and I still remember it after 2 years later. Because when you look at it, 2 years or 1.5 years is a bare minimum when it comes to clearing the UPSC. Because you might start preparation today in April 2021. By the time you reach your interview stage, which would be, after, I'm guessing all of you would be writing it, 2022 prelims. So that's already a year gone. And then by the time it's interview, it's 2023 January, February type. So you get the idea, right? So you should be sustainable in your studies in such a way that what you learn today, you will remember it for at least 1 or 1.5 years later. So this might sound extremely ridiculous for most of you, because you will mostly end up studying stuff within a week of having read it in the first go. But I have happy news for you. The thing is that all of that is a myth. If you follow the right techniques, if you follow some innovative, scientifically proven methods, you can do the impossible, which is to remember stuff you've learned a very long time ago. So this doesn't mean that you learn it once. This means you learn it more times than anyone else. So I'd be very happy to say that, when it comes to certain topics, I would have revised it, 20 to 30 times. But you do it in such a way that it is very efficient, it is not time consuming, and there is no duplication of efforts. So what you can do about this particular finding out the right study method is, you have to do the basics. You just have to go to Google or YouTube and type stuff like best way to memorize, or active recall, spaced repetition. These should be the keywords in your journey. Like from now on, your life mantra should be about gaining maximum productivity out of, or being the optimum every single day. And when it comes to revision, it is spaced repetition and active recall. These are two things that will definitely help you to cover and memorize a lot of syllabus, especially for an exam like UPSC, where it is very fact heavy, more than, you know, the logical aspects and cracking it out like a mathematical examination or derivation is less, but our exam is heavily reliant on memorizing a lot of facts. All right. So, all of you should, you know, do that right away. There are several videos you can find on YouTube. There are many YouTubers who specialize in, you know, teaching you what are the best ways to study things. Ali Abdal being an example of the same. So, you can do that. Now, I'll just talk to you very briefly about how to use iLearn. So, that was my personal, you know, plan or strategy that I followed, and that had helped me tremendously. I'll just conclude by telling you how exactly you should use iLearn. So, now that all of you are here, and I'm very happy that you're here, I'll tell you why, you know, or how exactly iLearn will help you and how you should use them in return. You should not be just a passive listener throughout all your classes. So, most of my faculty here would remember me as this, you know, extremely enthusiastic, often, you know, on the verge of annoying, because I used to keep asking a lot of questions. I'd be sitting in the first two benches and was, you know, at most times a very active listener. So, that is the basic. You have to be a very active listener. I understand that, you know, the pandemic is going on. It's not like having a normal classes, but still there are so many benefits. Like, we have been following this for over a year, and we see that there are so many plus sides to having an online classes too. You can be at the comfort of your own house. You can have more of a personal contact. There's no issue of missing out on a lot of classes due to some logistical issue. All those things can be solved. So, make sure that you are still active. You just have to unmute yourself. You don't even have to, at times you don't even have to show your face to ask questions. So, make sure that you remain very active in all your classes and keep asking your faculty doubts. All the faculty here are extremely qualified in what they are doing. They know the exam in and out, you know, especially from a UPSC point of view, and they will tell you what exactly you should be knowing in order to crack this exam. Second one is, you know, using your mentors. So, all of you will be assigned a mentor to personally help you in cracking with various, you know, aspects of this exam. So, after a point, it will be, you know, this all consuming presence in your life. Like, UPSC preparation will consume each and every aspect of your life, and there will be a lot of doubts which you may not, you know, personally feel like asking a faculty like your, you know, like your directors like Shina sir or Nikhil sir or even TJ sir. So, what you can do is you can approach these mentors. They'll be in a way more approachable and more relatable in that matter. And I'm very thankful for my mentors that I had here. All of them have helped me tremendously in clearing this exam. And last one is, you know, some of the classes you might feel, you know, why should I actually listen to the class when I have books to read? So, here's the thing, right? So, most aspirants, what they get this, you will have a set of notes, or you will get some ready-made notes available when it comes to history or geography. But the thing is, you need to have a very basic understanding or a very basic framework of how things go, or what is the basic framework about Indian history. So, your classes give you that, like your classes will give you that starting point and that very basic framework, which is of utmost importance before you start to actually sit down and study and memorize your concepts. So, that is one of the most important things about sitting in class as such. So, basically, I think I've covered, you know, whatever I had jotted down to talk to you today. So, I think we can open it out to, you know, questions from all of you. Feel free to ask anything. All of you are freshers. Even if it's the silliest of doubts, feel free to shoot it. I'd be very happy to answer. You can just type it in the chat box. I'll try to pen on there. I'll consolidate some of the questions and then we'll answer it in an order. Okay, I guess everyone is a little shy to ask questions, but yeah, just ask just about anything. Okay. Just keep asking. I'll consolidate them in the end. Okay. Okay, current affairs. Then we have 81 participants. We just have 4 questions so far. Okay. Subject we need to focus more. All right. Newspaper reading. Subject. Okay, so I'll start off with okay, I think we have enough questions for the time being. Alright, so if you have any more doubts popping out after I talk about this, you can ask that later. Alright, mains. Okay, I'll deal with mains questions from Sharon and Anjana after I talk about this. Alright, so I'll start with NCRTs. One of you to rephrase, you've asked me what do I have to say about NCRTs. So the thing is, there's nothing that I have to say. NCRTs are the basic, they are everything. Like for all of us are starters some way or the other. Some of you have studied engineering, some of you have a humanities background, some of you have studied professional degrees like medicine or other things. So there will be a lot of subjects where we don't know nothing about. So specifically for that is why we should read NCRT. And most of you, if coming from a non-humanities background, you need to have a very good, very basic understanding about the structure of Indian polity, what is our society, what is the basics about our geography, history, our ancient India. All of these are very important. You would have studied this, I mean, you definitely would have studied this back in your school, but that was a long time ago, right? The second thing why NCRT, so first point is, like I said, to get a basic understanding about all of these subjects. The second thing why NCRTs are so very important is because UPSC loves them. Like UPSC finds NCRT to be one of the most accessible and egalitarian documents that is there. You don't have to spend any money to get NCRTs. All of them are freely available on the internet. You just have to download PDFs of all the NCRTs from 6th standard onwards and then just download them and read them at your own pleasure. So the thing is, UPSC have consistently and almost every year asked questions literally verbatim taken from NCRT. That is, it would be from a sentence that is written in the NCRT. It would be from a small box which is given on the side of NCRT. So that is why NCRT is very important. First thing, you get a basic understanding. Secondly, because UPSC loves it. And there is a very, very high chance that they could ask you directly from NCRT itself. And thirdly, it's actually a very wonderful book. You know, NCERTs would be the best books you read throughout your preparation, because all the other books, your optionals, all of them will drain the life out of you, but NCERTs are a simple, pleasurable read which you can use to get a very basic understanding of all of them. So, the NCERTs I specifically recommend are all the history NCERTs, like from 6th standard onwards, 6th to 12th, I recommend all of you to download all the history NCERTs, 6, 7, 8, 6th and 7th is called RPAS, and then you have 8th and 9th is more, 8th, 9th and 10th is more of modern Indian history, 10th is, has a lot of Indian freedom struggle and all of that going on. Plus 1, plus 2 again, which is something most of you may not have seen because it's dealt with only by humanities students. So, plus 1, plus 2 history NCERT is again very important. There are books, there is old NCERT and there is new NCERT. I would prefer all of you to read the new NCERT, but if you want to get a deeper framework or idea about things, you can read the old NCERT by R.S. Sharma, but new NCERT is more important than the old. There is medieval, there is themes, they are called themes 1, 2 and 3, and the other NCERT, so I think history is clear. History, all books are very important for history. Second NCERT is, I recommend reading as a must read is geography. So, geography I think starts from 9th standard onwards. So, all the geography books from 9th standard onwards, it deals with world climate, Indian climate, economic geography, physical geography. All of these are again very important. So, 9, 10, 11, 12, all books belonging to geography are very important. So, I think these two are the most basic NCERTs you need to cover. I hope all of you are writing this down. Okay, so please write this down, keep it for your self-reference and download these things as soon as possible, and you can, you know, start reading them on your own. You don't need anybody to come and tell you to read it. Okay, you don't need your teachers to, you know, literally go through every chapter. None of that is happening. You have to take NCERT as your own personal mission to complete. Okay, then if you are a person who is new to economics, you have to read economics from 9th to 9th, I think, I think economics starts from 10th or 11th, so 11th, 12th, basically read 11th and 12th economics books. I personally didn't have to read it, so that's why I don't know. So, economics read 11th and 12th, and then political science or civics, which is what we call political science back in school. So, for political science, the books are available from 6th standard onwards, but it's not necessary that you have to read from 6th. I personally read only the 11th standard textbook. The textbook is called Our Constitution at Work. Okay, so 11th standard political science book called Our Constitution at Work. So, make sure you read 11th standard NCERT before you move on to standard books in UPSC preparation like Lakshmikant or Subhash Kashyap or any other books. So, these are the basics. I hope I am remembering everything correctly. Yeah, I think this is it with regards to NCERT. I hope all of you have written this down. Okay, and then yeah, science books are there. Science books are again very important, but science you just have to read selectively, but to be on the safe side, you can read all the science books from say 7th or 8th standard onwards to 10th, just to get a brief idea about things. You can just flip through them. And then plus 1 and plus 2, I personally couldn't read much, but there are people who recommend chapters on pollution and some things on biology, human biology and plant biology, which can be important for your environment environment subjects, okay, when you are studying ecology. So there are a few chapters. For that you have to do your own research. You can search it on your own. You just have to type it on Google. Again, you know, you have to be independent in some way. All right, I mean, in most of you, because at the end of the day, this is a solo, you know, journey. There are definitely a lot of people to help you, but if you are an introvert, or if you are someone who does not want to ask too many questions, you can completely rely on Google, because you are not the first people to, you know, start preparing for UPSC, right? It has been here for centuries, literally. So I mean, not centuries, but yeah, more than a lot of decades. So what you have to do is you just have to refer to many blogs, many articles that are written by so many toppers. There are so many free resources available. Make sure you use all of these and, you know, help yourself if you are not willing to, if you don't want to ask a lot of questions to others. All right. So NCRTs, I hope you're done. Next I'll move on to current affairs and newspaper reading. So when it comes to current affairs and newspaper reading, this is what I did. So I regularly read the newspaper. I read it very religiously. So I understand that, you know, most of you would not have read newspapers before you started, you know, before you decided to start, or you would not have started as of now also. So I understand that some of you can be like that, but my suggestion personally is that it's never too late, and you can start reading the newspaper today onwards. The best day was, you know, maybe a few months ago, but the next best day is today. All right, that's what I believe. So you can start reading the newspaper today onwards, and I understand it can be overwhelming, it can be confusing, you may not understand what's written, but it's a very, very slow process. So the one thing I want all of you to carry with you when you're reading the newspaper is patience. Okay, it's simply that you just have to be patient when it comes to, you know, reading the newspaper. It will not be okay in a week or even in a month. Sometime it can make 2 months, it can take 3 months for you to get the hang of it. So understand that Rome was not built in a day, but even though, you know, you might feel like giving up, just keep reading it. That's what I believe. So it will take a long, like, you know, a couple of hours sometimes, but make sure you keep doing it, because it's at this point it's very important that, you know, you get that broad framework of your mind, which is something nobody else can give you. Like institutes can give you news in capsules, like they can literally spoon feed to you the current affairs, but for you, you know, you are going to become a future civil servant of the country. For that, there are a lot of skills that only newspapers can give you. Moreover, you will also gain a lot of important skills such as comprehension and critical thinking, lateral analysis. You can also get good notes and statistics which can be used to make, which you can use in your mains answers. So all these things are, you know, something you derive from reading newspapers alone. So that is what I have to say with regards to newspaper reading. Be patient with it. Over time, within a few months, you will, you know, be able to reduce the time limit to 45 minutes to 1 hour. It's completely okay if you take 45 minutes. So try to, you know, get to 45 minutes. You will get there in a few months' time. That's all I'm saying. Initially, it can take up to 3 or 4 hours. There are aspirants who took 4 hours to finish the newspaper, but it's still worth it. All of you have a lot of time. You have time until next year to write your prelims, no? So now is the time to invest in yourself. Okay, and then so for me, current affairs was basically reading the newspaper, and depending on I also depended on a current affairs compilation. So you can use free compilations that are available on the internet, like Vision or Insights. Vision or Insights have monthly current affairs available. You can use that. if iLearn is also having a current affairs compilation, it's called Kana, and there is also a prelims specific compilation which is called Ignite, which comes out, you know, closer to the prelims date. So you can depend on that also. So you have to, you know, do some trial and error before finding out what really works for you. Okay, so this is something I have to tell for all the things. Okay, you can get a lot of advice from a lot of people. You can get my advice, you can know what I did, but at the end of the day, that's not what will, you know, what may actually work for you. So be patient in understanding that, you know, it will take time for yourself to know what routine actually works for you, or what books actually work for you. So give yourself, you know, the first 2 months should be given for yourself to, you know, trial and error and experimentation. But the key is you have to experiment. You shouldn't, you know, stay idle and, you know, play it safe. Now is the time to experiment, check out new resources, you know, to shake up your routine and all of that. All right. So the next one is about strategy for each subject. So like I said, before you start each subject, what I want all of you to do is, be it geography, economics, political science or polity, any of that, what you have to do first is you have to research about it. So for each and every subject, there is a unique way of achieving, you know, what is the most efficient way. So this is kind of like a life philosophy as such. So what I realized was that you cannot study geography the same way you study polity. You cannot study history the same way you did, you know, environment. All of these subjects are very unique in their own way, and that is why, you know, that is kind of like the beauty of this exam also. So by the time you study all of these subjects, you become, you know, highly skilled, like you become a very skilled learner, like you would be very quick to pick up new things, even if it's, you know, something completely out of your competence or out of your core competencies. So first, what you have to realize is that each subject demands that it has to be studied a particular way. For example, this is just an example, okay. When it comes to polity, so you know that polity deals with our constitution, what are the various provisions, how does our country work, how does our government work, all of that, what is the relationship between our state and center and all of that. So for polity, there is a very standard book called Lakshmikant. So Lakshmikant is like a explanation of our Indian constitution. So what aspirants normally do is, they'll take the book, they'll open chapter 1, chapter 2, they'll go to it in a very mechanical way, like from A to Z, from chapter 1 to chapter 20, they just go in a very mechanical way, reading one chapter of the other. So this is one way of doing it. This is the most basic way of doing it. But you can also study polity in a different way, right? Like for example, you can connect it with your current affairs. There are a lot of things happening. For example, our state recently dealt with elections, right? We had elections going on in so many of our states. Now it's going on in West Bengal. So you're reading about elections in the newspaper, you're reading about model code of conduct, you're reading about some politicians breaking the model code of conduct. So then you can, you know, go back to Lakshmikant and refer to that chapter on elections. So when you're reading it along with current affairs, you know, you're doing it in a more organic way. Like you are creating interest, like it's not so boring or dry as you found it earlier, right? Now you are having a better understanding along with a real life example of what is happening with regards to our polity. So this is one way of studying it. Similarly, some issues happening with regards to governor, like the governor crisis is happening, like in some states there is a hung assembly, like there are not enough seats for a party to form a government. There will be a coalition government, and then there will be some issues ongoing with the governor. Okay, so all of these things are what you actually study in your Lakshmikant also. So when it comes to polity, when you are reading the newspaper, if you come across these things, you can again refer to the original book or your original source document, which is Lakshmikant, and then study. So that way you are creating a very good link between current affairs, and that way it's more organic and you tend to remember these facts more. It's always like that, no? Whenever a teacher says a joke, you are more likely to remember that thing, or if he relates it to something you already know. That's how your memory power has increased. Alright, so this is one way of studying polity. Similarly, you know, when you link things with current affairs, studying these hard books becomes a much more easier task. For geography, similarly, you have to study a lot of maps. When it comes to Indian geography or world geography, there will be a lot of maps, there will be a lot of places that you have to study about. So I used to, like, you know, play some kind of games. There are so many online games available which can help improve your overall geography. When you will be able to better identify places in world geography before. You can learn all the rivers, mountains, all the important countries. So all of these things can be done in a similar way. So likewise, these two are just examples, okay. So likewise, you can find out innovative ways to cover each of these topics. But what you as a student have to do is, before you start every topic, research about the topic, find out what other toppers are saying about each of these topics. So I found out this method for polity because I did my research. Before I started studying polity, before I started reading Lakshmikant, I did a very basic Google research. You just have to type how to study polity UPSC, that's it. Okay, so likewise do it for every subject. Make, you know, trying to find out the optimum, make that a mantra in your life. So that's how you deal with each subject. Okay. So I think I've done with some of the academic stuff. Then did I study for prelims and mains separately or combined? It was a combined thing. You don't really separate it out, you know, as such. But what I actually did was towards the prelims, like maybe 2 or 3 months just before prelims, you stop studying for main subject. That's something most of us do, because we have to cover a lot of things for prelims. So you will in a way stop studying for mains. But until then, when it comes to geography, history, polity and all of that, you study both together, or the teachers will be dealing with both together. Like when they cover a particular topic, at the end of the class, they will give you questions about how it was asked in prelims. They will give you sample questions about how it was asked in prelims. Likewise, they will also give you sample questions on how the same topic was asked in mains. Okay, so you study basically together. It's just that towards the end, you will focus more on prelims. That's all. Okay, so your NCRTs are covered. Current affairs strategy is done. Strategy for each subject is also done. Next, a few of you have asked me anything more on academic side. What is my opinion about asking science subjects? So, you know, your doubts about optional and choosing that, you can ask your teachers or your mentors. They will guide you personally throughout. I don't have enough time to cover how to pick a particular optional, okay? Then I think academic doubts are more or less done. Next, I'll just, one of you have asked me about using your mentors. So how exactly I use my mentors was that we would have mentoring sessions roughly once a week. So what we do in mentorship is basically we will, you know, give you a more personal approach to your prelims preparation. You can tell what is your background, you know, specific subjects that you face an issue with, all of that you can tell your mentors, and your mentor will give you a better, you know, ways. They'll tell you what they personally had followed that helped them clear the, you know, clear prelims or mains and all of that. So all those strategies can be followed. Then, you know, just feel free to ask them anything. Just feel free. That's all I'm saying. And don't miss a session. Okay, the most important thing about mentorship is show up. Show up and don't miss any session. So that way itself you will learn a lot. That's the thing about mentors. And you know, you can also give them your answer sheets when you're writing mains answers. write answers on your own and you can give it to them for correction. So they will give you proper feedback about the same. So one of you asked me when I started writing mains. Obviously I did not start writing mains from day one, because we don't have conceptual understanding. I think I started writing answers around, I don't know, 2 months or 2 months into preparation. It also depends on the subject. Okay, so some of the faculty would come and, you know, after teaching for a week, you will have enough content to write an answer about that topic, right? Like when it comes to polity, the faculty will come and teach you about fundamental rights and fundamental duties. All of that is covered. So at the end of the class, they can give you a mains question which is on fundamental duties, right? So that way you can write. So this is a very relative thing. But to answer your question, like when I personally started taking random questions and answering, that was much later. So that would be around 4 or 5 months into preparation, when I had like a rough idea about all the things that is happening along with current affairs. What I did was every day I would take a couple of questions from the internet. It can be previous year questions, or it can be like, you know, some of the websites like Insights have daily answer writing challenges going on. So you can take any of that and then you can, you know, carve out a section of time every day from your daily schedule. So I used to do that usually in the mornings. So mornings after studying for some time, I think it was around 8:30 to 9, around half an hour or even less than half an hour, maybe 25 minutes. So within that 25 minutes, I would write sometimes 2 answers, sometimes 3 answers. So every day that was the thing, and usually at the end of a week, I'll have maybe 10 questions written, or 10 or 12 questions I have in my hand. I would take all these answers, I mean not questions, answers that I have written, and I would go and show it to my mentor. So my mentor would usually just look through the answers, give feedback. So mains answer writing is something you have to do yourself to know what are the issues that you face or how exactly it works. There is a limit to how much I can tell you about it. Okay, so you really have to get your feet wet when it comes to answer writing. So yeah, so do answer writing as and when the faculty says as of now, but after a couple of months you can start doing it on your own, completely on your own, and that is very important. In fact, you should start after some point. Alright, that your faculty will tell you when to start, or your mentors will tell you. Okay. Okay. Yeah, just one last thing about academics, and after that we will talk about my personal routine. How I made notes out of current affairs. So this is again very important. Current affairs note taking, what I did was, I see current affairs in 2 ways. Okay, I subdivide current affairs. So when it comes to that, here when you're reading from the same source document, which is the newspaper. So when you're reading the newspaper, you will come across 2 kinds of information from a UPSC point of view. The first one is UPSC, from a UPSC prelims factual point of view. Second one is from a UPSC mains point of view, right? So what I did was, initially, I mean, I didn't start off like this in, you know, all these perfect way that I am telling you right now. I personally went through a lot of trial and error, because nobody told me how exactly to make notes from current affairs. So I used digital note taking methods. I used this app called Evernote. Evernote is a wonderful app. I've been using it for years now. So with Evernote, what you can do is you can just make notes on each and every line of UPSC syllabus. So once you start reading the syllabus, you will understand that it is quite vast and it's subdivided. So you can make a notebook for each of GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, and in each of these notebooks you can make separate notes for each of these syllabus titles. Okay. So and then when you read the newspaper, if you come across a fact that will come useful to you in your from a mains point of view, you can just write it down. So initially I used to write everything, like from both completely factual point of view, like for example ISRO had released this rocket, or there is a new species that was found in Western Ghats, some new endangered species is there. So all these are facts from a very prelim point of view. So I used to write, initially I used to write everything, whatever I find useful or whatever I think can be asked in the exam, I used to write it all down. Then I realized that, you know, for prelims oriented current affairs, I can depend or shift completely to current affairs compilation, which is, you know, released by Vision IAS or Insights, or even Ignite material, which is given in iLearn. So I kind of stopped writing notes from a completely prelims point of view. Instead, I started focusing more on a mains point of view. That is the kind of information you get when you read these editorials and big articles, right? So when you so you know the Hindu center page, it's called there's the editorial and there's the op-ed, right? So there you will have in-depth analysis of all the issues that we are facing. Okay, so and all these analysis that you're getting at the end, usually at the end of these documents, there will be like a way forward, there will be suggestions, there will be policy frameworks, all of these things will be given. There will be good case studies, good examples of, you know, some things that had been followed here. For example, let's say we're talking about the pandemic, and then in the initial days of COVID-19, there were several examples of successful case studies. For example, Taiwanese model, South Korea, they all dealt with the pandemic in a very effective manner. When it comes to how the Kerala government dealt with in the beginning, contact tracing, quarantining, and, you know, route map, all of these things really helped combat the pandemic in its initial days. So that was done. So these are case studies. So you can write these case studies down in your notes. So that again will help you in your mains answer writing. So I hope you understood. So anyway, all of my note taking was completely digital. I did not use notebooks. So that definitely makes like a hell lot of difference. So make sure you download Evernote today, or Evernote or OneNote today itself, and then, you know, work your way around it, try to find out how it works, and, you know, take your own time. See, the thing is, most aspirants face this, like when I'm telling you all this, you get overwhelmed because there's so much of information coming out, and then you get intimidated by me and whatever I'm saying. Don't get intimidated, take your time. I took 1 year to figure out all these things. It's just I am condensing the knowledge and experience I have for 1 year into this very short session. So start doing that, start experimenting, and give yourself time. You will figure it out in a month or so. Alright, so yeah, that's it about, I think all the academic portions are covered. And just to, some of you had asked me about my daily routine, how many hours I studied. So, my daily routine was kind of like, So my daily routine in a way started around maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, usually wake up around that time, sleep at around 11, 12ish. I'll just tell you, so you don't have to, you know, you obviously have your own circadian rhythm and whatever time works for you. You just have to stick to the basics. Okay, so the basic or the underlying thing is you have to get enough sleep. Okay, that is very important. So I am a big advocate for sleeping enough. Initially, in the initial days, I wouldn't sleep properly. I think, okay, 6 hours is enough, 6 hours is not enough. You will need anywhere between 8 to 9 hours depending on, you know, what kind of sleeper you are. Some days I sleep 9 hours. So make sure you get enough sleep. Be it any time of the day. If you want to take breaks in between studying, take a nap, all these are good things. The second thing is stay off of social media and, you know, consuming unnecessary news, especially like these days. Social media is so toxic and it can really mess with your head. There's a lot of stress going on, there's a lot of unnecessary information, especially, you know, with the pandemic going on. Most of you might, you know, be already feeling overwhelmed, and with preparation, with starting preparation, it's like an additional load. So make sure you limit social media. If possible, just deactivate Facebook, and or, you know, or create a system where you log in maybe once in 3 or 4 days or once a week. So your consumption of social media has to be limited. That's the second thing. Third thing is keep yourself healthy. Obviously, it's more of a necessity right now, considering how the pandemic is going on. Keep yourself very healthy. Eat good food, balanced diet is important, and exercise regularly. So this is actually something I personally did, and it served as both as a stress buster, and it mostly kept me, you know, healthy throughout preparation, because your health is very important. Like, you can't be sick. If you're sick, you won't feel like studying, right? So keep yourself healthy by, you know, doing all these exercises and meditation. You can try whatever works for you when you're in, you know, in an extremely stressed environment. Then the other thing about routine is, you know, I understand it's a pandemic and you don't have access to your classmates, but when you have your mentorship, you will have like a closed group as such, or like, you know, 10 people in one group. It will be more personal. So use your groups to make new friends. Like, you can make friends with your classmates. You can have combined sessions, combined Zoom sessions with them. So if you feel bored, if you want to do something together, just do it. That is very important. Like, I personally had a friend, we studied together, and I'm very proud and very happy to say that his name is Sailesh Menon, and he also cleared the exam. We both cleared it together from prelims onwards. Like, he was my classmate in PCM Batch, and then we studied for prelims together, and then we both passed prelims. We studied for mains together, we passed that too, and then even for interview we did it together, and then now he's in Indian Information Service. So having a friend who is equally motivated, so, you know, you can be choosy here. Like, you don't have to, you know, be friends with any randos. Instead, choose your study buddies very carefully. So make sure you do that. Like, I know it's online, it's very hard, but make an effort, okay? Because this exam is, at the end of the day, it's a team effort. It's not your effort alone. It's a team effort of yourself, your family, your parents, your teachers, and your close friends. So all these stakeholders are very important. So make sure you find a very good, equally motivated study buddy, and especially for subjects which you are not interested. Like, he was good with science, he was from an engineering background, he would teach me science, I would teach him economics, I would teach him other things, and it would be a very complementary, very healthy relationship to carry out. And not just that, you needn't have to contribute also. You can just study things together. Like, for current affairs, sometimes you might feel it's very boring to study current affairs, so you can do that. We usually like did that in the afternoons when, you know, you feel sleepy after a lunch, after a heavy lunch or whatever. So at that time you might just want to sleep, so, or you want to watch a movie or something like that. So at that time, make it a combined study. So your least productive time, you can make it slightly more productive and more interesting if you are with a friend. So feel free to do that over Zoom. All right. So I think, yeah, that's about it. That's all. What did I do when I have a mental saturation? You take a break. That's it. You take a break. You don't study for a day. It's fine. I mean, it has to be saturated, okay? Don't take weekly day breaks. That doesn't make sense. You know, once a month, it's fine. You can go for a movie. I used to go for movies. I used to, you know, just go out with friends. have food that you like, spend time with family, and just completely forget about the exam for a day or for a few hours of the day. That will help you reorient yourself. In fact, what I felt was that when I went to spend time with my family, it also in a way reminded me of why I was doing all this. Like, why am I taking all these sacrifices? Why am I studying so hard? So in a way, going to your family, seeing their happiness, and knowing how proud they will be if you pass the exam, that will also serve as a reminder to why you're doing this. It will again give you motivation. So these breaks you take when you're literally saturated, they will they are very important and integral to the process as well. All right, so yeah, I think we're done. Yeah, we've covered almost all the questions. What about magazines like Yojana? I personally did not get like a lot of time to read Yojana. So Yojana, Kurukshetra and all is good for getting case studies and examples. But like I said, I used to read the newspaper very religiously. So whenever I get good case studies, I would write it down from the Hindu itself. So that covered up for not having read Yojana and all of that. But don't make it a priority now. If you have time, if you feel like you have time, or if you're bored, sometimes just go through Yojana or Kurukshetra. But I doubt if those magazines will increase or decrease the boredom. Okay. Down to Earth is also a good magazine if you feel like reading. Okay.